So it is May 6th, 12:02 p.m. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Could you guys help me out with roll call?
Yes. Rafael Dueñas,
Present.
Julian Ranofsky,
Present.
Cesar Garay, Ray Rocha, Arturo Dominguez,
Here.
John Villarreal,
Present.
Myra Hernandez,
Present.
and George Alville.
Present.
We do have a quorum. Our third item on the agenda, the approval of minutes for April 2021. Is there a motion? Moved by Julian. Is there a second? Second by Arturo Dominguez. Discussion? No discussion. The call. All those in favor? Is there any against? None against. Motion carries unanimously. Do we have any citizen comments for this meeting?
Mr. Chairman, no. At the time of the meeting start, there were no public comments. The meeting will allow public comments up to 15 minutes after. If there are any comments received between now and then, I'll be sure to notify Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Arnold. Agenda item number 5A, discussion and possible action regarding a Chapter 380 agreement with Empacadora GAB. Teclo Garcia of Economic Development, the floor is yours.
Thank you. You broke up a little bit there, but I think we heard the back end of that of the item, Mr. Chairman. This item, I'm going to ask the chairman or anyone in the committee if it can be tabled until next month, and I'll let you know why. The firm hasn't finished their review of the 380 agreement, and so once they finish their review, I'll bring it back, and if there's any questions, we'll converse with legal, and then at that point, when the document is not going to change anymore, that's when I'll bring it to the council or part of the committee for y'all's review.
The table.
They also wanted to ask quick little things about the firm, just so you know. It's a local firm that's already here, and the reason we got involved with them is because they contemplated moving to McAllen, where they also have an operation. So we were able to convince them to stay here and look at an incentive. And they're not very big. They only got 13 employees, but they're making a pretty big investment for 13 employees. They're doing a $7.5 million facility off of Mines Road. So thank you. Yes, sir.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we able to know why they were considering leaving? Like, what was the predominant driver?
They have a lot of traffic in McAllen, and they have also some land that they already own. So they wouldn't have to had purchased land. Here they had to buy land.
Understood.
They can sell the one in McAllen.
They can, and one of the things they're looking at is moving their McAllen employees to Laredo, although that hasn't been decided yet. So I think, Mr. Chairman, you had a motion to table by Mr. Vice Chair.
Second.
Okay, so
I
then
think he's present. I'll take over in the meantime. So there was a motion to table. There was a second by Arturo. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any against? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Rafa, are you back on?
Yeah, but you can go ahead and due to my internet network, Mr. Vice Chair, could you direct this
Yeah, I'll take over.
meeting, please?
So moving to B, discussion and possible action to discuss the roles of chair and vice chair of EDAC, including but not limited to public speaking engagements, communications with the public, receiving data and input from citizens, and presentations to council regarding the actions of EDAC and any matters incident thereto.
This was an item, Mr. Alcott, that was previously on. We didn't get to it, right?
Right.
Okay.
I
No, we didn't.
apologize, by the
We
way.
lost quorum right before.
Right. And that was mostly my fault, so I apologize for that. So, yeah, I think that it's important that we as a committee have our collective voices heard. You know, what we saw with, at least most recently, was that in our absence at council, council was left to hear from only staff. And does not have that, you know, public mandate the way we do. Is we all are going to have our own individual, I guess, you know, points of view. And I think that Chairman has done a pretty good job of capturing what our collective opinion is. And so that at council meetings, you know, should there be a matter wherein, you know, someone would want to ask, well, what did the EDAC have to say? They could have the benefit of staff input as well as the benefit of the chairman, or in the event that the chairman can't make it, you know, the vice chair or co-chair, I forget the terms that we use here. But long story short, I think that, you know, we can, if, you know, assuming minutes are being, you know, accurately detailed, I think both the chair and the co-chair can assimilate what our collective concerns are, so that we can truly be eyes and ears and and what our concerns are, because otherwise we're just kind of, you know, I don't want to say rubber stamp, but, you know, generally speaking, you know, what value do we bring to council if they're not hearing directly from us? Is the thrust of that, and I'm happy. I'd really like y'all's input. I mean, this is all about respective process and public and input from the committee itself. Leadership within this committee, some directive, but those are my sentiments, and I'd really like to hear from you all on what you think.
I like it.
I have a question, George.
Yes, sir.
So, when you say speaking on to council, right now, I don't think, unless a council member would include as an agenda item at every meeting an update from EDAC, right now there's no mechanism. So is what you're describing something that would be done during public comment, or how do you envision being able to get this information to City Council?
Yeah, great question. You know, obviously, public comment. I mean, any one of us could, on our own, go and participate in public comment. Any one of us on our own, frankly, could participate. Could include a public comment in on any agenda item, frankly, right? And that's our right as a citizen.
Yep.
And we should certainly be encouraged to do that. Generally speaking, you know, if it was me, I would say I'm here individually as a footnote. I'm also a committee member of EDAC, and you know, as I understand the collective will of EDAC is, you know, step forward. And this kind of requires some real discipline on the part of staff to be able to capture minutes for us. But you know, we can use, you know, the last TERS a sample of what we would do. In that instance, I think that it would be ideal for us to have a official presence as a chair and the committee co-chair go and buttress what staff is saying, or on occasion providing a different perspective from perhaps what staff is saying. Because let's face it, a lot of times, and I'm not saying this staff, but a lot of times staff goes and they're forced to read the room, and their opinion is based on the collective body language or intel that they've gathered otherwise from what management says, or what they think management says they should be saying. And what we want to do is provide the council, very raw and direct feedback from our unique perspective. I mean, if you think about the collective horsepower in this room, bankers, brokers, folks in the real estate brokers, customs brokerage community, freight forwarding community, God forbid, lawyers, business owners. We've got a unique perspective, and we're just kind of sitting around with our hands in our pockets. And so I think this is where we harness the collective horsepower of this committee and bring some relevance to the charge that we've been commanded to keep. And so it can be informal in the form of a public comment, or it can certainly be something organized where, we all on what our position is on, let's just say, like the abandoned building ordinance, right? What that means for economic development. Well, I guess, one of us can go rogue and send a public comment or sign a statement. Okay, well, that's cool. Or we could all sign as committee members, or the majority or whatever, but like collectively as a body, our voice can be much more meaningful if and when we decide to publicly engage our council so they know exactly our position on these, frankly, complex issues. I don't know if I answered your question, but I think that's one way to disconnect.
So if I can understand, you're saying either a representative, being the chair or vice chair or both, be available at every council meeting just in case council had questions regarding items that went to EDAC. So that, am I understanding that correctly?
Or maybe not every meeting, but meetings that when an item that y'all voted on goes before council.
Yes.
Just to support it, or in favor or against. That's what you're going to be talking about, and why, or
and
whatever
why.
questions they ask on behalf of the committee. That's what George is trying to say. I think it's a great idea. Only when we are in the agenda. You don't have to be there in every meeting.
Okay. Understood. So I guess it would require us to take some pretty detailed notes in order to make sure so I think it would be better if we can designate someone at least to be responsible and because it's one thing to just, take down a motion. It's another thing to possibly make sure we can make sure that every committee member's concern, either them being for,
I think that's why they voted as chair and vice chair, Julian.
I'm sorry?
Can I make a motion or no? Can I make a motion?
Yeah, go for it, Arturo.
Yeah.
I make a motion that the chair goes, the chain of command, the chair, if he's not available, the co-chair, and if not, I would put George to be the third one.
That's why they voted.
Today's a negative.
I'll check that.
Chair and vice chair.
Rafa, you cut in and out. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, go ahead and repeat that, Mr. Dominguez.
What I said is just the chain of command, because I'm in the airport, but I mean, the chain of command, first the chair, if he can't make it, was the co-chair, and if he can't make it, the third designated would be George. I would appoint George.
To be, okay. I did hear that there was a second. Who was the second?
Let me just make a comment. I mean,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be one person. I mean, it could be sometimes 2 or 3 of us that could be going up to the podium, right? So
If it's like, for instance, let's just say it's a, small business loan, program that council is anticipating assembling, why wouldn't Mr. Villarreal if it's, something with regard to, this silly empties policy with regard to diverting traffic to Colombia, well then, let's hear from the customs brokers that, and the trade community advocate. It doesn't need to be, 1, 2, or 3 individuals. We should have the flexibility to say, okay, you got this one, man, or I got the last time. I was there at 11 p.m. You do it now. I didn't do it. It's your turn.
of course, it'd be always
I was
good
just
to have
saying-
the chairman or the vice chairman, right? And have 1 or 2
At the bare
other
minimum.
members.
Right.
Well, I was just saying because of the amount of people that can be in the council chambers. That's it. But I mean, I agree with you all.
It's getting to be pretty open now. You should be okay on the numbers of people.
So then we could then I'll propose an amendment to the motion that it, as you said, but not limited to any other individual, that it be open to the designation of the committee relevant to the item that's going before council.
Second, Dueñas.
I accept your amendment.
Yeah.
If it's just me, or did Mr. Allgild's first part of that sentence cut out?
Cut out a bit.
It cut out a bit, but I didn't see it as part of the motion.
Oh, okay.
If you'd like to repeat what you
I'll try.
completely said, just to be safe.
Yeah, sure. I was just saying that we would keep the motion as is, add to it the language that the committee can designate who will present on its behalf to council, depending on the item relevant to that committee member's availability and expertise, something along those lines.
If I can just is that we know when items are going to be going to council. I think that it just, if we amend the statement is the chair or vice chair or Arturo, and anyone at any given point can join in on those council meetings.
That sounds good. Yeah, that works.
Not
So
limited.
I can say, so it's
Yeah.
chair, vice chair, or Arturo, or any other member.
Yes. Because if 4 people, if all of us want to be there, I don't see why that changes anything. I think the predominant point of us being there is, 1, to read what we voted either for or against, and I think the responsibility for the chair, the vice concerns, reasons they like things, so we can try to articulate those to council, not just us as individuals.
Sure, George, does it carry more weight when they see more faces?
I think so. I mean, whenever you have, someone just individually showing up, I mean, yeah, if it's, if it's a, a Jerry Schwebel or, someone like that, like, okay, yeah, that carries a lot of weight. But when, it's Jerry Schwebel, Douglas McDonald, Dennis Nixon, you like, in other words, you have Mario Palos Garza, you've got Glafiro Montemayor, Arturo Dominguez. Like when the titans of industry show up collectively, now all of a sudden you've got people's attention, versus just a offhand of an individual that shows up by themselves. It depending on the individual and what they have to say, it can carry more or less weight. Here, I mean, this is kind of an all-star cast, excluding the occasional stray dog that y'all let in, i.e. me. But for the most part, I mean, think about it. Think about the people that are online right now. I mean, if we, like I said, if we harness this voice, it's gonna carry a lot more impact. Granted, a lot of times, we're teaching calculus to chimpanzees up on council, but I think, for the most part, there's a lot of folks that are gonna, assuming their own individual political agendas don't overshadow their ability to reason and logic. I think we've got a good means of trying to educate our council on things that they may not have the time to understand, because things are moving so quick in those agenda meetings.
So Arturo, can you reiterate your motion if you were to include the amendment?
I agree with the amendment that George brought up, but it was that we have a presence.
I think Arnold already took note of it.
That we have a representation when an item in the agenda is brought up that is subject to our committee, but not limited to the amount of the committee members that can attend, basically.
Okay.
So then what
Motion, there's a second. I don't know if you want to make for the call.
I think whoever seconded has to also accept.
Oh, that was me.
I'll second that.
That was George.
Okay. So call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
So then from our end,
Motion carries.
I'm in favor.
Oh, okay.
In favor, sorry.
Sorry. So then from our end, on the staff end, what we'll do is we'll do the minutes from this meeting, and then take this to or not take it to council. I mean, put it in a Friday report to get to council, and then obviously will that y'all are advising them to do this, or advising that y'all are going to, or y'all like to do this, and so we'll communicate that as well.
Well, I have a quick question regarding the minutes. How quickly are those actually? I know we receive them typically before the next meeting, which is weeks down the road. But do we know how long they typically take to form? Are they really created that day or the next day?
No, usually it takes about a week for us to put it together. Usually the next day, Valerie starts working on it. Arnold helps out. But usually within the week, Julian.
Okay. The only reason I ask is just in case we have a council meeting right before something that needs to go to council. Council meeting. If we have a committee meeting right before something has to go to council, I think it's important that we at least get the motions written down. And I'll make it a point to, at least as the vice chair, write down the motions from this point on.
after, so we can get this into next Friday's report, right? So they'll at least see it before the next meeting.
Thank you, Doctor.
Right?
That sounds great.
Good point, Julian.
That's enough.
I guess if we lose me, we'll just come back. Item number 6, presentation, Texas PACE Authority to present on the Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, an incentive program that provides low-cost, long-term financing for water and energy efficiency and conservation improvements to commercial and industrial properties, and any other matters incident thereto. With us from Texas PACE Authority, we have, and I'm sorry if I butcher it, Charlene Hadinger. Welcome, Charlene. The floor is yours. Tecla, if you'd like to introduce us and give her a warm welcome on our behalf.
Yes, I'm going to leave that to Arnold, but I'll just say I'm really excited to bring this program in front of you guys for your review and consideration. And I'll leave it there from Arnold. Charlene, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Arnold?
My pleasure.
Hi, good afternoon, committee members. Yes, we have Ms. Charlene Hadinger. You hit it right on there, Mr. Chairman. She's the president of Texas PACE Authority. She's going to be presenting to the committee this program that she has presented to us. It went through the environmental department because it's more environmentally geared, right? But we're hoping that by the time that this is all said and done, we can get it to council to hopefully offer it as a new form of an incentive to businesses here in Laredo, thus promoting and spurring economic development. So, Ms. Hedinger, thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Take it away.
Thank you. This is my pleasure. Let me get the slideshow set up. Okay. Can you see this slide? Great.
Yes.
All right. This is, pardon me. All right. PACE is an economic development program with wonderful.
Excuse me, Charlene, I don't know if you can, I see, one slide, but I see a lot of smaller slides. I don't know if you can make
Okay,
it where
let
you
me,
have one slide.
all right. Thank you for telling me. I had two
You're welcome. You're welcome.
slides going, so let's try this again.
Much better, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. This is a tool for businesses and nonprofits. There is no cost to the local government, but it is not available unless a county or a city creates the program. The statute giving this authority to cities and counties was adopted by our state legislature in 2013. And we have been visiting with various folks in the Laredo area for the last several years. It's a great idea, but it doesn't really become a reality until there are local businesses interested in using it, and that is happening. And the other thing I want to share with you is that while we work with environmental folks, this is truly an economic development program, and so where we have direct contact with the economic development community, this program gets picked up faster and is more readily utilized, and businesses learn about it sooner. So we're truly honored to have this ability to visit with you today. Okay, so what is PACE? This is it's a mechanism that the city of Laredo can create. The mechanism allows a private property owner, a business or a nonprofit, to negotiate directly with a private lender. So Laredo is not being asked to provide any funds. The long-term financing can be used only for measures that make that property, that real estate, more energy efficient. So think about the envelope of a building. Buildings that have dark roofs unnecessarily absorb heat. If they have old light bulbs, they're unnecessarily creating heat inside the building. If they haven't insulated their attics or insulated their walls in a long time, then not only are they absorbing heat, but they're also air conditioning the parking lot and the street and the sidewalks, because all that cool air gets out windows, gets out of walls, gets out of doors. And so the idea is with energy efficiency, it's not just mechanicals like a new boiler or a new HVAC system, but it's also the building envelope, keeping the cool in, keeping the hot out. Water conservation, something that everybody misses. Toilets that are 10 years old are flushing 75% more water every flush than the new ones you can buy at Lowe's. So a lot of our food processing, a lot of our, even some of the old cooling systems, the evaporative cooling systems, are wasting enormous amounts of water, and new technologies can perform the same functions a lot more efficiently with a lot less water waste. And then finally, creating power on site, distributed generation. In an area like Laredo, solar is a no-brainer there, but there are also technologies like combined heat and power that are important to hospitals and to factories. So that's what it can be used for. Where can it be used? Commercial property, and that includes nonprofits, industrial property, that's manufacturing, oil and gas, agriculture, and then multifamily properties with at least 5 units. So think apartment complexes. So the mechanism that Laredo could create would enable the property owner and the private lender to change who's responsible or what's responsible from the company to the property. So here's the issue. The lender can't take the HVAC system back if the company doesn't pay. So this mechanism says instead of that equipment being the collateral, we're going to have the cost of that equipment be placed as a senior lien on the property. So now the collateral is a dollar amount on the property, and that can only be done through an economic development tool that only cities and counties have called a property assessment. So I don't mean, what does the CAD say this property is worth? I'm using the term assessment in a different way. It means obligation, right? The property owner is going to come and say, I would like my property to receive an economic benefit from Laredo, that economic benefit being able to get access to this PACE financing. And in exchange for that, I'm going to obligate my property to repay that financing, and that obligation flows directly to Laredo, even though Laredo never touches the money. What you're doing through this mechanism is reducing the risk to the lender. As a result, lenders will loan over a much longer period of time. And when you stretch out these loans long enough, the savings, the utility and repair savings resulting from the improvements are greater than the cost of repaying those installments. So the beauty of this program is that the projects will not qualify unless the savings exceed the cost. So from the very beginning, this is administered in an ethical, very transparent way at no cost to the local government. There are underwriting requirements and technical requirements that ensure that these projects literally will pay for themselves. So why are we doing this? Why are we asking you to do this? In Laredo and really all around the world, there is tremendous deferred maintenance. Companies are spending way too much money repairing old equipment and paying high utility bills because they cannot overcome the burden of replacing that equipment or updating that equipment. The idea is that most energy and water saving measures are very expensive. Now, LED lights are a bit of an exception, but for the vast majority of what these companies need to make these buildings more efficient is expensive. And then add to that the fact that all of this new equipment is going to be more efficient. It is going to save money, but the return on that investment can be 15 or 20 years. It takes a long time for this equipment to break even. So the bottom line is it just costs too much money. It's not a great investment for businesses. So businesses are not about to lay somebody off to replace the HVAC system. So they keep wrapping it in duct tape until they finally can't get any more parts. And the idea here, is to change that dynamic. So everybody wants to make more money in their business, or they want to raise more money for their mission if they're a nonprofit. And there's two ways to do that: either sell more stuff and increase your net operating income that way, or reduce your costs so that you have the ability to keep more profits. And PACE is on the cost saving side. All right, so let me give you an example of the problem we're trying to overcome. So somebody finally cannot get parts for their HVAC system anymore, and the mechanical company comes in and says, look, let's replace your HVAC system. Look at all the money you're going to save. But this is what the property owner sees: 5 years of pain, because the bank really struggles with these kinds of loans. They don't know how long that company is going to be in business. They don't know how long that company is going to own that building, and they can't come and take the HVAC system or the roof if the owner doesn't pay. So they want to be paid back in 5 years or less. And what that means is that there is a very high set of installments on a 5-year loan for something that isn't going to break even for years later. So they have to pay all the expenses before they get access to the savings. What PACE is the ability to stretch out those payments long enough so that you have a steady stream of installments that are smaller than the savings. These literally pay for themselves. And the reason that lenders are willing to go out longer, as I said before, is they get a Laredo property assessment placed on the property for their benefit. And the money is collected directly by the lender, but they have a senior lien on the property itself, not just the equipment. So because this is a senior lien, no property with a mortgage will qualify unless the mortgage bank agrees. And because these payments are low, there are tremendous benefits for the mortgage holder as well as the property owner. And in fact, we hope to work closely with all of your banks and credit unions because we hope that they will become PACE lenders so that every piece of your economy benefits from this. Let's see here. What we are hoping to do is bring buildings back to life. So let me give you this example. This is a 1926 office building in the heart of Amarillo. It has looked like this for 25 years. Developers came in, they tried to turn it into condos, they tried to bring it back to an office. Everything they tried failed because they couldn't raise enough money and have a business plan that made any sense. It just cost too much money to bring this beautiful historic building back to life. The city of Amarillo created the PACE program, and a developer came in immediately and borrowed $7 million towards the purchase price of this building because they underwrote. In other words, they raised enough money to buy and renovate the building at the same time. It's going to be a Marriott Autograph Hotel. And you'll see they also got $9 million in historic tax credits, and they found other financing, traditional mortgage financing, equity, all the things you need, all the different places you need to find money for a capital stack. But for the first time, because they were able to add PACE to that capital stack, they had enough money to make this project work. And what we hope people will do with PACE is use it with opportunity zone money, TIF money, utility incentives, historic tax credits. We've seen a couple with new market tax credits. And then they used the pretty significant savings resulting from these projects, resulting from the extra investment in energy efficiency and water efficiency, so that this part of the PACE piece of this financing pays for itself over time. So let me show you this another way. So on the left, you're going to see conventional financing. I call that yellow repayment 5-year plan, the tower of pain. And all we're doing with PACE is knocking that tower over. The owner still has to pay for it, but the difference is they're making smaller payments and they get instant access to the utility savings to begin to make those payments. So it's not pain before receiving the savings, they happen at the same time. So we are a nonprofit. We are a very small nonprofit. We serve 57 local governments in Texas. We reach about 60% of the Texas population. And yesterday, PACE loans in Texas crossed 150 million in new investment in buildings. So I just wanted you to see this, to see who we are. We were created in 2015 when it became clear that it was not reasonable for local governments to run this program themselves. So we are paid a user fee by the property owners. So that's the reason that there's no tax implications or budget implications for the local government. And we do all the work, so there's no FTE impact on Laredo. But Laredo is going to get a number of indirect benefits, and this is where there can be so much economic activity as a result of this. If someone decides to install solar or replace an HVAC system or rebuild a warehouse that's a refrigerated warehouse, somebody's got to manufacture that equipment, somebody's got to deliver it, somebody's got to install it, somebody's got to feed those folks, and somebody's got to maintain it. So we're creating jobs. That hotel in Amarillo will be a new source of employment for 55 hotel workers when it opens. Before, it had very little value on the tax rolls. Now it's being brought back as a high-end hotel. So there are a lot of indirect benefits to the city and the businesses in the city. It's not just the property owner who benefits from this program. And what I wanted to show you is yesterday we launched a service provider directory. We come in and train the HVAC plumbers, roofers, lighting folks to work together to understand this program so they can bring it to their customers. We also help property owners find lenders who are making PACE loans and other services that they might need. This statute requires an independent third-party engineering review because nobody's going to underwrite these loans and make these loans, and property owners aren't going to use this unless those savings are real. So we have a technical standards manual and a requirement that engineers validate that what the contractors are telling the property owners is real. This is where we serve currently. Eagle Pass is the most recent border community to join the program. TCEQ has supported our efforts to reach out along the border and try and grow this program. We made a commitment to the legislature that we would serve all of Texas. And so we've been expanding a little bit in South Texas and in West Texas, and it would be our privilege to serve Laredo. You can see we started in 2015. The first projects in Texas closed in 2016. Last year through COVID, we still closed more projects than in any previous year. They were smaller.
Question, Charlene.
Yes, sir.
Just real quick, where do y'all get your funding for the 150 million?
That's a great question. We do not make these loans. The funds come from private lenders. We have about 25 on our website, but that's not an exclusive list. Those are lenders that have demonstrated to us they can do business in Texas. They have money. Many of them are equity funds from outside of Texas. We are growing our list of Texas banks to be involved. And so we get our funding to oversee this program. Originally, it was grant funding from foundations. Now we are pretty much self-sufficient based on the user fees that property owners pay. We have promised everyone that we will continue to lower those user fees as we get more volume, because we know to serve small business, we need to have the lowest possible fees, and we do have the lowest fees among the nation for what we do, but we only oversee the program. There is a firewall between what we do for local governments and the market activity. The idea here is that the property owner can use any contractor, any engineer, any lender that they want. They find the highest and best use of these projects and they bring them to us. And our function, aside from education and outreach, is to make sure that those projects meet the statute and Laredo's expectations. So I'm just going to run through some other projects just to give you a sense of how this is being used in other places in Texas. This is in Aransas County, Rockport. This was the first post-Harvey apartments to use PACE. These closed last year, by the way. This office building in downtown Temple, Texas, pretty dangerous situation, is being turned into apartments.
Charlene,
This is an old Falstaff brewery in Galveston Island, and it is being turned into a hotel. It's about 3 blocks from where the cruise ships dock. And so once everything gets back to normal and this hotel opens, it's going to be incredibly convenient for folks heading out of Galveston Bay.
Charlene, pardon me, I'm sorry, this is Teclo. Hey, on those apartments that you showed in Aransas,
yes,
those were redone apartments. There weren't new apartments, right?
They were actually new. And
okay.
Teclo is raising a point, a statutory point. The statute says you cannot use PACE on undeveloped lots or lots undergoing development. And so the developer came to us and said, we want to use PACE for this housing. It's really important. And we looked at the property and we said, you've got a green field. In fact, it wasn't even a green field. It was just a sand lot, right? And so we said the statute won't allow us to authorize PACE for your property. And those clever people came back about 3 weeks later and said, we've looked at our plans and we have a 6-stall parking garage that's going to have access to water and it's going to have power and it's going to be our maintenance facility for these hotels. They're getting ready to add another 400 apartments. They're getting ready to add another 400 apartments to this first block. And they said, if we build that parking garage and we get or we build that maintenance garage and we get a CO, then we believe the property will be developed. And legally, they're right. So we said yes. So they built the maintenance facility first, and then they were able to use PACE because at that point the property was developed. So they used PACE on the new construction. However, we believe that the local government needs a benefit. The statutory benefit is energy and water savings. So somebody who's building new construction has to build to code. And so you're going to get the benefits of their building to code anyway. So we only allow the use of PACE in a new construction situation for what measures are above code, so that you will get additional energy and water savings as a result of this program.
But
So
what I'm seeing, I mean, what your strength really is on the refurbishment of older facilities that need to, as you mentioned before.
That is the highest and best use of the program, and that was the main intent. Correct. Oh, so
and who doesn't cost benefits?
This is a nonprofit. Last year, this older church building, it was purchased and is being renovated for classrooms for a nonprofit college. We see a lot of malls that need to be repurposed. They don't make sense as malls anymore. And so this one is being converted into a trampoline park. They've got all kinds of fun stuff in there. And then the mall, the other part of the mall is being totally refurbished as well as separate property.
Shirley, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you would need to first have a partnership with the city in order to be active in Laredo, or how would a program like this?
Yes. You know what I'm going to do, because time is of the essence, I'm just going to whip through these really fast and get to the questions.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a slide that answers your question. So let's just go to that. So these are the projects that closed last year. Oh, looks like I didn't include that slide. Okay, in order for the city of Laredo to create this program, there are 4 statutory steps. There are also certain documents that the state requires, and the state indicated exactly what has to go into them. So the program that we follow was created by 130 volunteers. It took us a year between 2013 and 2014, and we call that program PACE in a Box. It has all of the documents required. It follows the statute. And so here's the process. The city of Laredo would issue a report on how the program will work. And then and that report has to go up on the website, and then adopt a resolution of intent to establish the program. That resolution adopts that report and sets a hearing date. So that's the first meeting. And then the second meeting is the public hearing, a resolution to establish the PACE program. And then if you want to outsource it, which every local government has, we would need a service agreement, so we would have the authority to do this for you at no cost to the city. The documents have been prepared. They're basically the same documents that the other 57 local governments have, and they are being reviewed by the Laredo legal staff at this time. I have spoken to the Laredo City Council a couple times over the last 3 years, and I think early on it was too early, but now the program is proving itself with these successful projects across the state, and you have businesses that are interested in using the program, and that's usually what it takes to get a local government's interest. I believe the EDAC is receiving letters from interested businesses. And so the idea of visiting with you today was to begin to answer questions and hopefully gain your support, because I think this is the reason you're here, right? Is so that City Council can get your advice and counsel on measures like this. So
I want to let the committee know that the letters that we received were addressed to me, and they were by community groups like Laredo Motor Carriers Association, I think, and maybe there was another group as well. In the last several weeks, have sent letters asking us to please consider this program and to run it through EDAC and to the council for consideration.
Tekla, if I may ask, is there current consideration is city staff interested in getting this? Do they think this is a good deal overall for the city of Laredo, and it's just something that we need to discuss with our council members?
In my opinion, yes, it is a good program. I've reached out to Hidalgo, I think it was Hidalgo County, and then I looked at some of the other cities. That she mentioned. I think it's a really great tool, and I'll let Arnold expound. Arnold's really worked more on this than I have, but I think that it's just another tool to give our local businesses to try and do expansions and renovations, and try cut their costs and doing so, and then doing something good for the environment. But that's just my opinion. Arnold?
If I may, real quick.
Go ahead.
Back when I was on council, this was something that Mr. Porter was trying to bring to us for years. And as a matter of fact, we went to the state comptroller's office and they mapped out this roadmap, which is what you just showed us, ma'am. And I think it's a no-brainer that we would make a motion that council initiate the PACE program here in Laredo.
Second.
I just want to clarify that this is a presentation, not an action item. I don't know how you guys would like to carry this. I guess we could just show the positive comments that were given on behalf of the committee to council, but this was a presentation item.
Can we make it I guess for open discussion, can we just put it as I guess Tekla can pass along this information to city council and staff, but in the meantime, can we make it an item so we can actually make a motion next time?
You're in mute.
Staff, if staff could help us out with that. And see their recommendations, Tekla or Arnold.
Yes, what we can do is we can continue working with our legal staff to make sure everything lines up with Ms. Charlene, and then bring it back to you on the next month as an action item for you to vote on and move forward.
Yeah, that would be good. Just for record purposes, to note that the committee right now had positive remarks to say about the program and are for it.
John Villarreal, just moving forward, I think anytime we have presentations, I think we need to include in the agenda or there could be possible action by the committee.
Yeah, it's a great idea. You know, in council, I mean, very seldom is there ever an item that's not a discussion and possible action. In the interest of everybody's time, it wouldn't just make sense that if we're going to be contemplating something and it's a no-brainer like this one, that we have that flexibility to just take some action. And again, I mean, our action is to package it, send it to council, and say, hey, you know, full speed ahead. Yeah, I think that should be our standard operating procedure, unless it's truly is something that we have to, you know, really deliberate on. But the deliberation, I mean, we're you know, we're eyes and ears for the council. Let's deliberate. Let's up or down, but let's.
And I stand behind George's recommendation to staff in regards to that. Perfect. So, are there any more comments? Any more questions?
Who does the cost benefit analysis, or who does that part? If it's really.
That's a great question. To clarify, you're asking about if a project comes in, who decides that the costs are less than the savings?
Yes.
Is
who
that the
gives
question?
the check mark?
Okay.
Yes.
That's the role of Texas Pace Authority. We keep our costs down because we ask the lender that the property owner has selected to give us the title report, the credit information, everything we're going to need, you know, everything we're going to need to qualify the project, to make sure that they've paid their taxes, that kind of thing. And then we get a report from the independent third-party engineer, and they have to be a Texas licensed engineer. They have to stamp their report with their license stamp. They have to give us another form that they are truly independent. They have to stamp that, and they have to do a site visit. And so that and so we sit on top of those two sources of information, and then we double check everything. We have a PE, a licensed engineer that we use to that I didn't really go into, is that the underlying loan agreement between the property owner and the lender, and when they want to borrow PACE money with that underlying loan agreement, we'll review it to make sure that it's consistent with the statute, but we don't get involved in that. So it really is this private sector highlighted as much as possible. And then we just review everything to make sure it meets the qualifications. We're pretty can happen in the private sector happens, but we would be the responsible party for making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Thank you, Charlene. I was going to tell you to talk to the Old Mercy Hospital. Just kidding.
Is it a nonprofit hospital?
I used to be a hospital.
Oh, okay. So you cannot use this program for government buildings, and it's been around for 25 years. So we can't do that, but I can get you in touch with people who can. So I always have to ask if it's a government building, because to visit with whoever, once this happens, just to set expectations, it'll probably be about a year before you see a project come in, unless there's somebody who's just really jumping on it. Real estate takes about a year. A lot of things have to come together. A lot of these projects, they're going to want TIF money. They're going to want other incentives. And this one helps you spread those dollars out, because if they're using PACE, maybe they can use a little less of the other tools that you have so you can serve more people. But projects take a while to put together, so it'll feel radio silent, but we'll be begging you to.
We have plenty of downtown at how to repurpose into housing. So I'm sure for landowners or property owners.
Oh, that's fantastic. We know housing is a huge issue. We are close to getting a compliance letter from HUD that you can use this with affordable housing. We're not there yet. I've been working on that for 3 years, but we're getting close. They tell me we're getting close. So that empty shell brick building in Temple, Texas, that's being turned into apartments. We've got another one in East Austin that is an old motor court hotel that could have been torn down and gentrified, but instead it's being turned into 307 studio apartments. So we're really excited about what we can do with housing. But you've got auto warehouses. Sorry.
Day. I know I used to see them littered around my town when I was a kid, the cans. But that's good for Galveston. I mean, they really have been hurting the last several years. If there's not anything else from the committee, any other questions, Mr. Chairman, I will do as the committee directs and have this item for action and make sure that we do this in subsequent meetings.
Thank you, Tecla. Just the other recommendation that George Algill said, when there's a presentation item, if we could just, for legal purposes, add discussion, possible action, presentation and possible action. Charlene, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for your labor and your hard work to see a better city and a better state, better world. To all the committee members, thank you guys for joining us. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait, before you adjourn, I have an item.
Go ahead, Tecla.
The 380 guidelines. And they asked that I run it back in front of you. Some slight changes to run it through you and then take it back to council for the next meeting. Now, I'm sure that for us to consider this item.
Yeah, that's how it had already been directed. So thank you for those closing remarks. We'll stay tuned to and give our opinion on that for our next meeting. Any other closing remarks? If not,
question, should that be on the next meeting or should we have a specially called meeting just to finalize it?
No, yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
We're going to need a specially called meeting in order to make a motion on that. Can we, when did city council say when they wanted it back in front of them?
Yeah, the next meeting. So that would be next 17 days from now.
So I'll get in contact with Arnold and we'll send you guys all the invitation and the notice.
And I will also make sure I'll send y'all the agreement, way beforehand so you can have plenty of time to look at it. And then we can go through the meeting. And if the committee decides that it's something that you want to approve, then we'll be able to get it back to the council and put it on the next meeting. Now we have to approve that agenda for the next meeting by next Wednesday. So we can have a special meeting by Tuesday, I think, right, Arnold? We have enough time to post a meeting?
As long as it's 72 hours posted, we can have it any day, anytime.
Can we not just have it on the 13th, like every Thursday, since we're used to that when it comes to EDAC?
But we will make the agenda item, right?
Right, we have to approve the agenda on Wednesday.
Oh,
So Tuesday.
okay, understood. Tuesday's fine. Well, can you get us the chapter 380? I know it's in the.
No, I can send it to you right away. I'll have it I'll send it to you by tomorrow or later today.
Thank you.
There was a motion to adjourn. Who made the motion to adjourn?
I did.
Julian, is there a second?
Second.
Second by John Villarreal. All those in discussion? You guys want to continue discussion? No? All those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? None against. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you guys so much. We'll be in contact for our next special meeting.
You got it. Charlene, if you're still on, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.